face instead of hers. But thank you for joining us. My name is Jay Martin, and I'm a facilitator for another cohort and stepping in because Megan was busy today. So I'll be teaching you for the day. I was a facilitator last year, and I'm a facilitator this year. Some of you may have seen me at a field trip or something before. So hello. Thank you, student leaders, for participating. Everyone, make sure if you can turn your cameras on. Thank you. Put SL in your name if you're a student leader. And for any alumni joining us, thank you. I appreciate it. How's everyone doing today? You okay? Good? Bad? Why don't you? I haven't really done stuff with y'all before. Why don't you give me a little reaction how you're feeling today? Maybe a smiley face. It could be a thumbs up. It could be a middle finger. No, I'm just kidding. Don't give me the middle finger. Okay, thank you, alumni Paula, for joining us. I appreciate it. We're going to pop open. I don't know if you all do this, but we usually do a poll at the beginning of the class, just a little bit about the topic today and what you think about it. Understanding your paycheck is what we're going to be talking about. So I'm going to go ahead and have the YC staff pop open the poll, and we'll ask you a few questions, and then I'm going to ask you kind of what you feel like you know about this stuff already. So when you get a paycheck, you get your job, you're going to get some taxes taken out. So that's what this is about. You don't have to know the answers yet, but go ahead and select what you think is the best answer here. So when you first hear gross pay, I don't know if you've heard of that, but what do you think it means? Is it the total you earn before deductions, and deductions are all those taxes? Is it the money you take home? How can money be gross? That's a question. There should be a question mark there. And I'm not sure yet. So go ahead and pick whatever you think is best. And then which part of a pay stub you think is most important to check? Again, a pay stub is a little thing that shows how much you earned at kind of on a without taxes taken out, and then all the taxes, and then what you receive at the end. And then the last question here, how do you think your paycheck would feel after your deductions? It dropped fast. Everyone has to pay it. You expected it. Or are you still confused where it all goes, which is okay too. We'll learn more about that today. So it looks like almost half of you have submitted a response so far. Go ahead and get your answers in. We'll talk a little bit about these answers here. Okay, I see everything fluctuating in here. Oh, y'all are pretty good. It looks like most of you knew what gross pay was. Okay, go ahead and get the last of your submissions in. We'll talk a little bit about this. In 3, 2, 1, make your last clicks. All right, most of you got it in. I'm going to end the poll and share the results with you here. So the first question, when you first hear gross pay, what do you think it means? And actually, I'm going to have Kim call on someone maybe who hasn't had a chance to share recently. Kim, do you have that list?
We're still trying to pop it up, but yeah, I can call on someone for you, Jay.
Come on, I actually have
Um,
the poll up, so I can't see everyone's faces right now.
all right. So would like me to call in someone for you,
Go
Jay?
ahead and call on someone, Kim.
Alrighty, I'll start with, of course, one of our student leaders. I'll start with Pablo Martinez.
Oh, right. Pablo, what'd you rate for this first question when you first hear gross pay? What were you thinking? What do you think that means? Don't have to be right. We haven't taught about it yet.
I put earn before deduction.
Exactly. Did you already know that? Had heard it somewhere? Have you got a paycheck?
Nah, I just guessed.
You just guessed. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, you got it right. Thanks, Pablo. Yeah, and basically the gross is the top line and the net is the bottom line. So the gross is before all the deductions and the net is what you receive. So we'll talk more about it. It was a good guess, but I'll teach a little bit more as we go through. Pablo, why don't you select someone in the class to answer this second question here? Which part of the pay stub do you think is most important to check?
John De Leon.
Leon de Leon. What'd you put for number 2 here? What part of pay stub do you think is most important?
I chose the net pay.
Net pay. It seems like you guys already know all the answers to this. Did you know this already? Have you received a paycheck? Or,
Yeah, I knew that net pay was like the money you take home.
okay, have you heard this from someone else or like a parent, friend, or learned
It
in
was
class?
in this class actually.
It was what?
It was in this class.
Oh, from Youth Champions.
Hmm.
Okay, well, we're already teaching you everything. Okay, well, thank you. And it sounds like you already know too. Why don't you select someone for this last question, which is a little bit more subjective, I think. How do you think your paycheck would feel after your first set of deductions? Go ahead and select someone else to answer this
I
next
choose
question.
Antonio.
Antonio, how do we think that first paycheck's going to feel? Like it drop real fast, or hey, we all pay taxes, who cares? Confused about where it goes? What do you think?
Confused about
Confused
it.
about where it all goes. Okay. And have you gotten a paycheck yet?
Nope.
Okay. I'll be honest, like I was surprised my first time and I had never learned any of this stuff. I think when I first started my first job, I was making about 40,000 a year, which is about 20 bucks an hour. It's honestly not that much. But I think they took about 25% of my pay. So like I was expecting almost like about 4,000 a month, and instead I'd get like 3,000 a month. Pretty big difference, right? Like $1,000 a month. So I was surprised, honestly, the first time. We're going to learn more about where that all goes. So you're going to be a little bit less confused about it at the end of this lesson. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing here and we'll go ahead and pop up the presentation and get started for today. Actually, on this note, I know some of you, it sounds like maybe you haven't heard some of this stuff before. Maybe you have heard it. Maybe you can kind of guess, but you're not sure. Why don't you drop in the chat right now on a scale of 1 to 10? What do you think you know about paychecks, deductions, taxes? Have you already got a paycheck that would be like a 10? You know all the little items there, deductions. One would be like, I've never heard of any of this stuff before, but I'm excited to hear it. Go ahead and drop in the chat 1 to 10. Where do you think you understand before we get started today? Go ahead and drop it in there. Don't be shy. No judgment. We haven't taught you about it, so you don't need to know already. Okay, so we got a 7, 8, 6, 8, 8, 6, 7, 5, 7, 10, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 8, 6. Okay, cool. So you all are clueless here. I'm not going to try to like dumb it down too much, but I want to make sure everyone learns. Thank you. 7, 8. Okay, cool. All right. Sounds like you guys know a little bit already, so it'll be an easy start. Let's go to the next slide, please. As always, we circle back on what we covered last week. So stock, bonds, and real estate. You all don't know me yet, but I'm a big real estate investor. I love it. I've made millions on real estate. I've lost a lot of money on real estate too, but always making more. But the big point is encouraging to invest. And the tie in here is you're going to be investing money that comes from your paycheck, most likely, at least when you're getting started. But if you don't understand how much is getting deducted, what those go towards, you're going to end up with less money than you think, and you're not going to be able to save that money to invest it. So this ties into budgeting, it ties into saving, it ties into investing, because you only get to go spend that money that you actually take home from your paycheck. Let's go to the next slide, please. All right, so we're talking about gross pay, right? Is the top before any deductions are taken out. The net is the bottom. That's the stuff you actually take home. And what is all that stuff going towards? It's not just a bunch of BS. It's actually things that are useful. Your school that you're in right now gets help paid for by property taxes, right? Your income taxes can go to teacher salaries and things like that, or the state of California, for the federal government, to pay for all the stuff that operates, the roads, all this stuff, right? So we'll talk a little bit about tax forms. This is the how to do it. There's a W-4, W-2. Basically, when you get a job, you're going to fill out a form that states how much you want the government to deduct. If they deduct more than you owe, you get some money back at the end of the year. If they deduct less than you owe, you got to pay them at the end of the year. So if you're not paying them enough in taxes, you got to save that money and pay them later. I've made some mistakes on taxes. Actually, one time I was owed a $60,000 refund that I didn't claim and did it wrong. And I lost $60,000 to the federal government that I shouldn't have had to pay them. So don't mess this up. Make sure you file your taxes. And we'll talk again a little bit more about all this as we go through. So let's go to the next slide, please. Yeah, don't mess up with this. Um, maybe there's a better way I can say it. One of my buddies was like, don't F with the IRS. You do not want to mess with them. They are not nice people. So make sure you pay your taxes. And again, we'll go into all the specifics in here. Okay, so we have our gross. How much? I want someone, let's see, how about Uh, who else we got here? How about Ashley Gutierrez? I'm going to ask you out here. Where is the gross earnings? How much do we have in gross earnings here? There's a whole bunch of different numbers on this page, but which one is the
Um,
gross earnings? The one
the
that
600?
yeah, exactly, 600. So that's how much we made. So we're making how much an hour are we making right here?
15?
Yeah, $15 an hour and worked a full week's a full week is 40 hours, right? So that's 8 hours a day for 5 days a week. So we got $600. But how much do we actually get in our paycheck? Do you see where it is on here? So they take a bunch of stuff out of there, and then how much do we actually receive?
Is it the net pay?
Yeah, exactly. The net pay. How much is that? I couldn't quite hear
50,
you, but I think I heard the next. Oh, someone is saying it. Go ahead.
503.16?
Yeah, exactly. So we worked. They promised us $15 an hour, right? We worked all week. We were expecting $600, but we only get 500 basically, right? So where'd the other $100 go? Let's talk a little bit about those, right? So we have all these line items on here. Number one is the federal deduction. So who knows what federal is? Citlali Herrera. Am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Yeah.
Cool. Have you heard of this like federal tax deduction? Do you know what it is, or do you want to guess?
Um, I think it's like when the government takes a chunk of your money for taxes.
Is exactly what it is. And some of these are taxes, and some of the things like go to other programs and agencies. This federal one specifically goes to like the federal government in Washington, D.C. So it's not going to the state of California. It's not going to your local city. It's going all the way to Washington, D.C. And they help pay for like the freeways that go and connect all the states. They pay for defense, right? Like for our military, for police, for stuff like that. Not all the police, some of those are local too, but that goes to the federal government, right? So we have federal governments, we got state, and then we got local governments. We got to pay for them all. Yes, so good job. Yeah, exactly. That's what it is. It's some taxes, but specifically to the federal government in this case. Let's see what else we got on here. Have any of you heard of Medicare? Raise your hand if you've heard of Medicare before. Yeah, I know not everyone's in the medical industry. Okay, Guadalupe Cervantes, I saw you raising your hand. What is Medicare? What have you heard about it before? It's okay. Don't be shy. You don't have to ask your friend over there.
I just know it's something with healthcare. That's all.
It is exactly something with healthcare. Yeah, there's Medicare and Medicaid. Basically, it's to help people who maybe don't have a lot of money to pay for health insurance or when they're getting older. So basically, everyone pitches in for this kind of stuff. And yeah, does it kind of suck to walk home with less money than you worked for? Yeah, but when you get older, you're going to need healthcare. There's Social Security, which goes into is like retirement for when you get older. There's some California stuff in here, which is going to help you also. So again, these things all go to helping out basically society, community, and yourself as you get older too. So thank you, Guadalupe. That's exactly right. It is healthcare. And what's our next item on here? Let's see. We got let's talk about our two state things on here. So we got California State and California SDI. So state. The state is for the state of California. So we have our state government who provides a whole bunch of services within the state of California beyond what the federal government does, right? Like defense spending and that more national type stuff. That's where that's going to the state of California. When you say CA state, CASDI is state disability insurance. So if you get like injured or something on a job, you'll continue getting paid while you're not working. That's what SDI is. And then FICA, this is the FICA one is a Federal Insurance Contribution Act. It's basically for Social Security and Medicare. Medicare may or may not be separate here. But how many of you, who's heard of Social Security? Isabella, have you ever heard of Social Security? Partida.
Yeah.
Okay, I know I'm asking you all a lot of questions before I've taught you about it. What have you like heard about Social Security?
It's like a person identification.
Exactly. You have your Social Security card, right?
Yeah.
So you get that Social Security card. That's this number that you're going to use to file taxes. You're going to use it when you get a job. And what that is also when you file that number when you get a job, is that they're going to have you pay some taxes into Social Security, which is kind of like it's like a retirement thing for when you get older. So you pay in when you work, you put a little bit in, you put a little bit in, the government invests it for you. And when you get older, they'll guarantee you a certain amount of money when you retire. So they might give you, $1,000 a month or $2,000 a month when you retire. Now I say they guarantee you kind of in quotes because all of our parents are retiring right now, or some of them are, maybe the grandparents have retired. They're all getting Social Security, and we're actually paying in less than they're taking out. So is there actually going to be money there when we all get older? Well, I'm older than you are, but I don't even expect money from this. So hopefully Social Security is still there when you get there, but you will have to chip into it, and you will do that all with your Social Security number. So that is exactly right, Isabella. I think that's everything that's on this page. I just wanted to make sure that you understand all these different things and kind of where they go, right? They're paying for different things in your life, for retirement, for healthcare as you get older, for the federal government to run, to have, a military, to have roads that are connected between each state. So they all serve their own purpose. Let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, so this is your first workbook question. If you don't already have it up, I believe the YC staff dropped this link in there. But go ahead and take a minute to fill this out. What surprises you most about the difference between gross pay and net pay? Were there less deductions than you thought? More deductions than you thought? Surprised there's so many, so few? Go ahead and let us know. So go ahead and write that in your workbook, please. We'll play a little tune while we do this for a minute. You got some music for us, YC staff? Thought we would play some like jazz thing or something. Maybe not today. By the way, I got my youth champion shirt on today. I don't know if you all could get one, but not quite as cool as me, but okay. I'm gonna ask a few people in here. Let's see. Is Gabriella in here? Looking through. Maybe not. I'll just call someone I can see on the screen here. Delilah, Anaya, what did you answer for this one?
Um, I don't think I put nothing. Like I didn't find nothing interesting
Okay,
or like yeah,
you weren't too surprised by it.
yeah.
Okay. Do you think that's a fair amount? I think in this case it was like a hundred bucks out of 600 is like almost 20%. Do you think that's like a good number? Would you like to see it higher and the government provide more services or lower, pay nothing or what?
I don't know.
Not sure yet. Okay. And I think it becomes more clear. Have you gotten a paycheck before with deductions on it?
No.
Not yet. Okay. And maybe it'll be more meaningful when you get that first one. Like I said, I was kind of surprised when I was like, they told me, hey, you're going to be making, whatever it is. I guess 48,000 a year would be 4,000 a month. And I'm like, oh, 4,000 a month. That's pretty good. And I got my first one and I was like, oh shit. I need to budget a little bit better. So maybe when that first one comes around, you will. But the main point is just to understand you're not going to get exactly the dollars per hour that you work for. It's going to be a little bit less. And to make sure you file your tax forms at the end of the year, so you don't get your money stolen by the government like I did. So let's go to the next slide, please. All right, a W-4. So basically what this is when you go get a job, they have to fill out a form with the IRS, basically notify them and decide how much is going to be withheld from your check. That's kind of like those deductions in there. Now, first of all, if you're getting your very first job, maybe working part-time, maybe not making too much money, not a high hourly rate, or you're only working 15, 20 hours a week, you may only make an amount of in the total year that's below what is the threshold for paying taxes. So if you don't make too much money, you might not have to pay any taxes at all. Um, but this is the form they're going to give you when you get hired and be like, hey, do you want us to take taxes out of your paycheck or not? How would you know how to do this? The best thing to do is you can actually just search online IRS W-4 calculator. It says W-4 on here is the name of the form. And it will help you like walk you through and ask some questions. Like, do you have any children? If you have any children, they're not going to deduct as much money. There's a few other things that they'll go through, and there's some questions on here. But here's the basics about it. If you fill it out so that there's no deductions, or you say you're exempt from deductions, that's okay as long as you owe no taxes at the end of the year. The problem can come is if you don't have any deductions, you say, no, don't take any money out of my paycheck. But then you make enough money that you do have to pay taxes. Now you're stuck at the end of the year being like, oh, where am I going to come up with this money? Or hopefully you saved it. So when you fill this out, I would say the safest way to do it is to have them withhold some money here, have them take some deductions throughout the year. And then when you file your tax return at the end of the year, they'll probably send you some money back. And at least for me, I'd rather not be surprised and owe them money. I'd rather be surprised that they owe me money. And again, the big thing is you just have to file your tax return to get that money back. Unlike me, I didn't file it for a while and they took my $60,000. So you can tell them a little bit bitter about it. But anyway, I'm not going to go too crazy on specific forms because this is something that you can look up. We just want you to be aware of this form, this W-4 is what they're going to have you fill out when you get a job. If you tell them to withhold some money, then you're more likely to get a refund at the year. If you put exempt, you may end up owing them more at the end. You can always talk with the HR department, human resources, to get some more clarity on this. And then again, the IRS has an online calculator. So you can just search on Google IRS W-4 calculator, and you'll be able to find it pretty easily. If you have multiple jobs, if you're married, if you have kids, all these things will matter. And when you get there, like I said, just look them up. But main thing is just to be aware of it so you don't get stuck at the end of the year. Let's go to the next slide, please. So this is a lot of what I talked about, the dependents and other credits. Dependents are basically if you have children, or it could be someone else that you take care of. So maybe later in life, if you end up taking care of like a sibling or like a sibling who's a minor, who's under 18 years old, or if you have children of your own, whatever it may be, that's something that will give you more exemptions, I would say. You won't have to pay as much in taxes, but just make sure you fill this out correctly. This other adjustments part. This is actually pretty important. This step 4 part, other adjustments, optional section for additional tax withholding or reduced. This is basically, you're going to fill out all the normal stuff, like do you have kids, are you married, blah, blah, blah. And that's going to kind of form your tax situation. And then you get to choose, hey, do I want you to take out less out of my paycheck so I can have more? Or do I want you to take out even more than is being predicted? And that's where you get to kind of choose, do you want to likely owe money at the end of the year? Or do you want to get a refund at the end of the year? Again, some people that plan well, they'd rather pay less throughout the year, save the money, invest it, and then pay the government what they owe at the end of the year. But if you're not good at saving, again, that can be a little risky because you don't want to be surprised with a big tax bill at the end of the year. Let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, so your question here, what life changes might you make or might make you update your W-4 in the future? So remember all this stuff we just talked about for the W-4, all the things that you have to choose, select, answer questions, change. Do you want more deductions, less deductions? What might make you update your W-4 in the future? Go ahead and take a minute to answer that question, please. Okay. Lolani Torres, what did you write for this question here? I'm going to try to call on everyone, by the way, so don't be surprised when I call on you.
What I wrote for this question on my notebook is like I think my let wait, let me read this. Sorry.
No worries.
Probably when I get like a career is when I put like a job and I start paying taxes and all that stuff.
Yeah, like for example, like I don't know if you're transitioning from a part-time job to like the full-time career or something, right? You're probably going to make a lot more, probably going to owe a lot more. And if you don't get deductions throughout the year, you're going to owe a lot more at the end of the year. And again, that's something I've been surprised by, and it's really painful if you haven't saved for it. So I think that's a perfect example, right? Getting that big job, that big career, that full time, better pay, whatever it may be. And actually, this reminds me because I'm going to ask this question later. We're going to have a little breakout group later. So, Lulani, what do you like? Let's say you land that big job, you get your first big paycheck. What are you going to do with it?
Probably like save. Probably
Ah,
spend. I don't know, spend a little bit.
okay, you're not just going to throw it all off the top floor. That's good, saving. And actually, I heard someone was talking about like was it like 30-50 20-30-50 rule or something like that? Like saving 20%, investing 30%, and like spending 50 or something. I can't remember the exact breakout. But one of the things we're going to be talking about later too, in addition to some of this logistical stuff, is how are you going to plan like that first year when you get a career? How much are you going to try to save? How much are you going to try to invest? Are you going to buy a car? How much is going to go to living expenses? So we'll talk a little bit about that later and have an opportunity for all you to talk together about how are you going to manage that first year of like big money that comes in? Because it's going to happen, right? It's still a little bit away, but it's going to happen. So thank you, Lilani. I appreciate it. And actually, I'm going to ask someone else in here too. How about Kimberly Lopez? What'd you put for this one?
Um, to be honest, I didn't put anything, and I just got it from like Lilani's answer.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
I appreciate you being honest. What about for your first paycheck? What are you going to do with your money? First
Um,
big paycheck, like when you get your first big career job.
Probably like spend it like on myself, like a little bit, and then also like save it.
Yeah, okay. A little
Yeah,
spending, little saving. What do
little
you spend on
spendy.
yourself? Do you like
Like
to? Yeah.
I like clothes, like like to go buy clothes and then like makeup. But like
Okay.
maybe like
Shopping too.
maybe where I'm at, I can see what I can buy and like actually save my money.
Okay, so a little haul, a little savings. Sounds good. I think, to be honest, like I put some of my money aside just for fun stuff too, because I think it's like if I'm just working all the time and like just saving and investing, which is important, it gets kind of boring. I'm like, I actually just got some investment money back. I invested a few years ago in some mobile home parks, and I just got like a wire for like $35,000. And I have some debts I need to pay off. I have some savings I want to invest in my business. But I'm also like, man, I want to spend some of this money on something fun. Um, So as part of, I'm doing this real estate conference and I got these sponsors to put in money, but this woman didn't have enough money. I'm like, what else you got? She's like, oh, I got a vacation rental in Utah. If you want to go out there. And I'm like, hell yeah. So we're gonna fly out there. So I'm spending some of that money. I kind of got a good deal. Got a free place to stay in Park City, Utah for a week in this big 4 bedroom house. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna put some of this investment money towards the flights and food and a rental car. So we can just, me and my girlfriend can just go have fun for a week. So I think it's important. But it's also important to think about that savings, think about that investing. And fortunately for me, I'm getting the place for free. And the money that I'm spending flying over there is actually money that's profit from my investments. So it's something that I don't really have to work for in this case. So I just kind of want to throw that in, how it ties in with sort of like paycheck, those deductions, budgeting, investments. It's fortunate that because I put that money in early as investments, now I don't have to work for all this fun stuff I do as much now today. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Let's go on to the next slide, please. I actually did a lot of investing like when I was younger, and I quit my job and I just traveled the world for maybe like 6 or 7 years on all my investment money, just kind of like screwing around and having fun, riding motorcycles around Asia and stuff like that. So I'm a big fan of investing. I definitely encourage it. Back to the paycheck, and I started doing that investing with my paycheck. Bought my first fourplex. Okay. I'm going to just give a little summary here, but basically, this is your W-2. This is a different tax form. So before we talked about the W-4, that's the thing you fill out when you get your job. Tell them how many deductions you want. This W-2 is what they're going to send you at the end of the year. So you worked all year. They send you a little pay stub each month. Oh, here's what we deducted. Here's how much you made. Here's your gross. Here's your net. Then at the end of the year, they're going to add all that stuff up and send it to you in the mail, or hopefully it'll be online available to you also. And what's in there? It's just they just added up all the individual stuff. So if you look on here, box one is, it says wages, tips, and other comps. That's your gross pay, basically, right? $23,500 what you made throughout the year. But they took a bunch of stuff out, right? They took $1,500 in federal taxes out. They took 1457 in Social Security, blah, 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 blah. So they took all this stuff out. What is important about this? This is the information that you put in your tax form when you file taxes. So if you're not already aware of this, you got to file 2 tax returns at the end of the year. One is for the federal government, right, out in Washington, D.C. One is for the state of California. The state of California collects their own income taxes. So taxes on the money that you earn as a salary or as wage. So you need to file 2 tax returns. And basically what you do is you can do that for free online. Just type like free tax filing, and you can go put in these numbers and it'll add it all up and do everything for you and tell you how much you owe in taxes. So you open up that software, whatever, online, it'll ask you what's in box one, you put in box one. What's in box two, you put in box two. And then it'll ask you a bunch of questions. Have you lived in California your whole life? Are you a member of the military? Do you have children? All these questions that impact what your tax status is. So there's a whole bunch of stuff on here. Again, what I want you to know about this is that this is what you're going to receive from your employer when you have a job. And all the numbers in these boxes are what you put into the tax form, and it'll calculate it all for you. That's really what you need to know. And again, all of these are just the individual items we already talked about. Social Security, federal, all that. Let's go on to the next slide, please. All right, this is your third and final workbook question. Would you rather pay more throughout the year and receive a refund, or pay less throughout the year and pay more at the end? This question actually should say pay more at the end, and why. So go ahead and take a minute to answer the question, please. All right, time's up here. Veronica Orozco, what did you put for this one? You think pay more throughout the year, get a refund, or kind of wait and see at the end of the year?
I put I would rather pay more throughout the year and then receive a refund. That way I can get money later and I can plan accordingly than having to pay at the end of the year.
Okay, so you don't like surprise payments going out at the end of the year either, like me? I gotcha. Thank you. And I know some of these questions are more like straightforward than some of the discussion questions that we have in maybe other workshops. So we also have another question to kind of discuss in a little bit, which I mentioned is what do you like, what are you going to use for like, let's say your first year of big paychecks, and how are you going to plan kind of saving versus investing versus your budget, or maybe you want to buy a car. It's also your first big paychecks. I assume there's some things probably you've been wanting to do. Veronica, like how do you approach that first, like, let's say that first paycheck and that first year of paychecks once you get a career? What's your thoughts on it today? I know this is a little
Well,
separate than just like taxes and deductions, right? But how do you plan for that?
I kind of have a plan already.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah,
Nice.
my first paycheck was the youth champions one, and I took my parents out to eat. But like my first real job paycheck, I want to give it all to my parents, and then my second one to take my whole family out to eat again, and then my third one would be for me and like saving and shopping.
Nice. I love that. You always want to help your family out. I hope, and I mean, I don't know how big your family is. Are you spending the whole paycheck on one dinner?
No, like we
Oh,
would
okay.
probably because they always take me out to eat, obviously, and
Yeah.
so I would take them out to eat, probably to like a good restaurant, and then give the rest to
Nice.
like whoever, my dad or my mom.
That is so nice of you. That's nice of you to give back to your family, right? I'm sure they've supported you for a long time too. And I think this is an important thing is like some people talk about like the necessities versus fun versus savings or investing. And actually, I contribute some of my money to like youth champions. I gave a down payment to my sister so she could buy a house. Um, and took like some of my high school buddies on these like international motorcycle trips and things like that. So when we talk about this like 50, 20, 30, or whatever, whatever it works out to, it's like there is actually a lot of other stuff that, he's either giving it away or helping people out or things like that. I think that should be a part of it too. So I appreciate you bringing that up. And I try to do the same thing myself. So thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that one. Um, let's go to well, I think the next slide, actually, why don't we hop over to the other presentation, which is actually just a single question that I just asked um, Veronica right now. If you can pop over that, Kim, because what we're going to do is we're going to go into some breakout rooms. And so basically, some of our student leaders will help facilitate that. So our student leaders, I don't know if you've done it much before, but just to go ahead and call on people, ask them this question, maybe some follow-up questions. Like, what are you going to do with that money? How are you going to approach it? Is it different for your first paychecks versus that year? Once you get your career, right? Not just a little part-time job, but when you're really getting some money, how do you manage that? Where does it go to? So we're going to break into, it looks like I think there's 6 student leaders and 1 alumni. I think actually what we'll do is maybe just do 6 groups. And alumni, maybe the alumni, if you can just pop around with me and make sure everything's going smoothly in all the different rooms. And I just want you all to talk a little bit about this. And I know it's kind of related to the paycheck thing, right? Because you're not going to get your whole paycheck, but it feeds into budgeting, into savings, into investment. What are you going to do with that first paycheck, and how do you deal with that first year? How do you allocate it? Feel free to ask each other some questions, ask some follow-up questions, and the student leaders, like, do you have a plan to get there? Is like a certain amount, whatever it may be, that stimulates some discussion in your groups. By the way, Yuritsa, one of our student leaders, is your video camera working? Is it just off right now? Can you hear us? Then why don't we just do five groups? It seems like your Ritz I can't hear and can't see. So we'll do five groups. So okay, Pablo, Michelle,
Yaritza's in the
Gloria.
bathroom, sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, let's just do five groups. We're gonna do that right now. So we got Gloria, Pablo, Michelle, Teresa, thank you, and Sarahi as our student leaders for the five groups. And again, this is the question that you'll be answering here is in that first year earning paychecks, what are your plans for spending, managing your money? Let's go ahead and spend 5 minutes in the breakout rooms, and then we'll come out and chat about it a little bit. And you'll see me pop in to just make sure everything's going smoothly. So our student leaders, go ahead and go around your group, ask those questions, and I'll see you back here in 5 minutes. We'll go in 3, 2, 1. Breakout rooms. Oh, that worked out perfectly. Thank you, YC staff. Okay, welcome back, everybody. I popped through. I heard some stuff about some savings, some people doing these different rules like the 20, 30, 50 or the 50, 70, 20 or what, like all these different kind of things of like saving, investing, spending, maybe some fun stuff, whatever it may be. Also, I know this I feel like has less discussion than maybe some of our other workshops. So I think next time if I do this, I'll shorten up the breakout room time a little bit. I know a few of you had kind of like wrapped up and we're like, oh, what else do we talk about? So think about that for the future. Thank you for going along on the ride with me here. I want to call in some of the student leaders and kind of see what they heard from their group. Was it kind of a consensus on one thing, or was it a little bit different for everyone? Sarahi, what did you hear in your group?
My group talked about like spending half and then saving the other half, and then also using the 70-30 rule, like keep 70% and then like spend 30%.
Oh, like save 70% and then spend 30%?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And I think that'd be awesome. I love that everyone's like so like motivated to like save, invest, and all that. One thing I would say is, realistically, it's hard to save 70% or 50% of a paycheck, right? Especially because let's say you get a good job making $100,000 a year. So that'd be like, let's say $9,000 a month. Then they're going to take out a bunch of taxes. You're going to get maybe 6,000 or 6,500. And then if you save 70% of that, it might be only a couple $1,000s left over, which may be difficult to, have, a place to live if you want to have a car, like some other things like that, and all your spending. So first of all, I want to say that I love that you all want to save a huge percent of your paycheck. I also wanted to say, like be realistic about it. Is like, calculate what that would be. See what those deductions are, to what your net take home pay is going to be. And then if you save half of that, how much are you left with? And how much does stuff cost? Actually, are any of you going to the finance park thing coming up, field trip coming up? I see a few head nods. That's actually a great way to get started on budgeting because they go through the actual cost to live in LA today and then throw you some life scenarios to see how you deal with it. What do you actually do with your money when you're in that situation? So for anyone who wants to learn more, I think there's still an opportunity to sign up for that. And I'll be talking about it in the announcements just at the end of class here. Okay. So thank you, Sarahi. I appreciate it. And thank you for being a student leader. Who else we got in our student leader here? Yuritsa Garcia. What did you hear in your group? Was it kind of similar, different stuff? What are people going to spend their money on?
It was kind of similar, but I also heard some people said that they would probably go like on a shopping spree, like they would save and probably go shopping.
Big haul. Yeah. And I mentioned this too. I think it's nice to spend a little bit of, especially when you first get this big like career. I have a feeling you're going to want to spend a little bit of it on something that you've been wanting for a long time, right? So I think it's good to be realistic about that too. But also that the first paycheck's a little bit different than that first year of paychecks. If you go blowing every single paycheck that first year just on fun stuff or clothes or whatever, it's going to set a bad kind of trend and course for the future, for your future goals. So thank you for sharing that, Yuritsa, and thank you for being honest about it. It's like, hey, especially the first paycheck, we want to enjoy some stuff too, right? Finally landed that big job. I know I have too. But again, those savings and those investments that I made like early on is what allowed me to travel the world just on the profit from the investments without even having a job. So hopefully that's some encouragement to save and invest too. Teresa Sanchez, what'd you hear?
So me and Yaritza were actually in the same group, and
Oh,
it was kind of like, yeah, what we talked about, how it's okay to spend money at first.
oh, okay. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I think someone had ran outside the classroom, so we had two people doubled up. Sorry about that. Yeah, and thank you for sharing, Teresa, too. Got a couple more too, right? Gregoria, were you leading one of the groups too?
Yeah.
What'd you hear?
For the most part, many of my group members said that we're going to save up on their money for the first year and the first paychecks. And the other half said that they would go on a shopping spree and treat their family out.
Yeah, I love that. I've heard like the treat yourself thing, but I really love when people are talking about like sharing with their family and things like that. Again, I had the same experience because it's not just us or yourself, right? And not just saving or investing, but helping other people too. I think is important. So I appreciate that coming up again. Michelle Bustamante, what did you hear in your group?
My group mostly said like save your money, take your parents out, and then somebody else said to save up for college.
And saving up for some longer term goals too. And I appreciate this too, because I think one thing is like, whenever we talk about goals, we're talking about like it could be a shorter term thing, like, okay, what am I gonna do this semester, or like a longer term thing. If you got to save for college, that's definitely a longer term goal. If you're saving for retirement, right, an even longer term goal. And that also kind of ties back to saving versus investing, right? It's important to save money, you put it in the bank, get some interest. But sometimes for these really long term goals, it might be better if you're willing to take that risk is to put it into some kind of investment to stocks or bonds or real estate so that it can grow larger for that future investment. So if it's 1 year away, that's different than if it's 5 years away. And I just want to make that distinction too. Like I think it's great y'all are saving for the long term stuff. Think about maybe investing a little bit of it too. Um, I know for me, like I have a Robinhood account, which is like for stocks. And so if I have a little extra money, I can just like, buy $20 or $100. You can even buy $5 worth of stock on there. You could buy $1 a day if you wanted to. So just some ideas and ways maybe to save up for some of those longer term things. Thank you, Michelle. Appreciate it. And I think our last student leader in here is Pablo Martinez. What'd you hear in your group?
I heard they're gonna save up.
Save up. Okay. For something specific?
Yeah.
Like
Oh
what kind of
no, just save up or go on a shopping spree.
Okay, a little save up, a little bit of shopping spree. It sounds like there was a lot of like similar things in there. And I think the main thing is again just finding that balance, right? Maybe you blow the first paycheck on some other stuff, but like you want to set good habits, good routines for the future, where you can like get towards those longer term goals, both the short term and the long term. So let's go back to our other presentation, and I think it's going to be next week's topics. So thank you all for participating. Thank you for our student leaders. I will apologize. I think maybe we could have cut that a little bit shorter so we could fill the entire time in those groups, because I did hear a couple groups that were kind of had wrapped up. So I'll be better about that in the future. But main thing is we want to give everyone an opportunity to share, discuss things with each other. And I think other topics sometimes are a little more exciting than paycheck tax stuff, but it's an important thing again because I've lost a lot of money on this. So don't mess with the IRS. That's what I should have said instead of don't F with the IRS. Don't mess with the IRS. So next class, we're going to talk about adaptability, contingency planning. So we've talked before about, hey, you may have a plan. Actually, one of my favorite quotes is Mike Tyson. He said, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. And basically, obstacles are going to come at you. Like whatever your goals, whatever your plan are, things are going to pop up. So what we want to be able to do is number one, try to plan ahead, right? Foresee what the problems might be and kind of make a plan B or a plan C. That's the contingency planning portion. Adaptability is just being ready to change when things come. Like, I don't even know. I'm running a real estate conference. Actually, it's going to be February 21st and 22nd. We got like 300 investors coming out, 20 something speakers. I know some of the problems we'll have. Some I don't know what we're going to have, but I know they're going to come and we're building some flexibility into make sure that we can address problems as they arise. So that's what we'll be talking about next week. Hopefully Megan will be back here, but if not, I'll be here to help out too. Let's go to the next slide, which is giving you all some time to complete your surveys. So if there are any questions you have not finished, finish those, and then go ahead and fill out the survey. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Oh, by the way, my name is Jay Martin. Please put, for your facilitator, if you can put Jay Martin in there. Maybe some of you accidentally put Megan, but that's okay too. And this is what, I'm sorry, what cohort is this? Is it in here?
Cohort 5, J.
Cohort.
I couldn't understand that. What was that?
It's cohort 5.
Okay, cohort 5, Jay Martin. Please go ahead and fill it out. And then I'll have a couple announcements to follow up with at the end here. By the way, I think you all know this, but filling out that workbook is what gets you your points and gets you paid for this class. So you're already here learning. Make sure you get it completed so you can get paid too, and then go on your shopping trip, save whatever it may be. Looks like there's 30 of you. 12 have completed it so far. If I'm not mistaken. Maybe get a little update from Kim here. Okay, Kim, you can go ahead and you can just update me verbally every 5 or so, but it looks like 20 out of the 30 of you have completed this workbook. If you cannot complete it for some reason or you need the link or whatever, let us know. But for goodness sake, at least get paid since you're here doing everything anyway. And you're welcome to go ahead and finish completing that survey. Make sure you click submit on the workbook. We're going to go to the next slide, and I'm going to give you all a few announcements while the last of you are wrapping up your workbook submissions. So the finance park, I mentioned this earlier, great way to learn about budgeting and real life, what stuff is going to cost. So it's going to be next Saturday. You can still sign up by February 6th. So the link is going to be in the chat if you can make it. It is an awesome field trip, and they basically put you in a real life scenario of how to manage your budget, what things are actually going to cost today in LA. You might be surprised. Ignite speaker series, post survey. So if you went to the most recent Ignite with Miller, the guy was, I thought it was really fun. I listened to it too. Make sure you fill out your survey so that you can get paid for your attendance participation there. Student leaders. So I believe there was 6 student leaders in this class already. If you are interested, you're not a student leader already, but you're interested in participating in that. And a lot of it is, for example, in these breakout rooms, is asking questions, keeping the conversation going. So if you're interested in doing that, you can fill out the form and become a student leader, step outside your comfort zone a little bit, and lead a small group of your classmates. The college match program. Do any of you have the college match or in it? Can you raise your hand? You know? Does Banning have it? If you are in college match, you should know from your school. Fill out this form on here if you're part of it. How many of you like cool free stuff? Raise your hand. Anybody? No? Okay, a few of you. All right. I don't know if you already heard about this Mustang experience, immersive experience, like a 3D, 4D, like in these cool Ford Mustangs with, I don't know, multi-sensory. I don't even know exactly what it is. But it's supposed to be this really cool, like virtual Mustang experience or whatever for the cars, not for horses. So you can get free tickets and you can bring some friends for free. So if you want to, do some free stuff, that's cool, and bring your friends along. You can be like, oh yeah, youth champions hooked this up. Last thing for our alumni, Paula, you should know if you're a part of this, and if not, then it'll be irrelevant. It is 11:15. Thank you all. I appreciate it. Thanks for coming. Thanks for participating. I know I couldn't call on everyone, but I think got most of you. So have a great day, and I will see you all next time. Paula, by the way, do you know about that? We'll see. That first gen U is if you're a first generation college student, you can get some kind of something. Do you know about it?